Hello and welcome to the New York Jewish Film Festival. The festival is presented by the Jewish Museum and Film at Lincoln Center annually in January. I'm Indigo Sparks, a member of the selection committee, and I'm so excited to welcome you to this discussion of Death of Cinema and My Father Too. I'm here with the director and writer, Dani Rosenberg. Welcome, Dani, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
For this festival and the first festival in the US. So I'm totally excited.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We're so grateful to have you here. Death of Cinema, there's passion, right, in all the right places, be it anger, frustration. There's like a high level of self-awareness in all of the parties involved. The content is really moving, all while having a kind of like sly sensibility, being like this film within a film. And so could you start by telling how you decided to create the film, kind of just how it came about in general?
Well, the narrative is based on the real life narrative, because what's happened is that after my father told me that he's sick, that he had cancer, lung cancer, and I understand that he got a couple of months to live. So I wrote a script for him. I want him to play in this film because he was my hero in my short films, and I want to make a film for him that he will be less time. I will start again. I want to make a film that he could be to play the hero in it, and I wrote the script about a man that get his family to escape the war with Iran, this imaginary war. I wanted my mother to play in it, and my grandmother and all my family, and that's what happened. I wrote it, and my father liked the script, and we shot 2 days, the first scenes. And after 2 days, my father felt, he felt before, but my father told me that he's in pain and he cannot do it anymore. Because I make this production, so I already bought a very expensive, very professional camera. And I try to use this camera to document him, to document my life, because he didn't want to play, to be in my footage. But I try to do what I can. But after 3 months, he passed away. And simultaneously, in the same week, in the last day of the Shiva, the Israeli fund gave me the money to make the film, to make the script that I wrote for him. So I said, okay, I have a script, I have money. That's kind of rare in Israel. So I'll just make the script, just change the hero, the protagonist. So I casted one of the Israeli most known actors. And couple of months after my father passed away, I make like this one day of shooting to test it. And it was the first scene. My mother and this very famous actor called Dov Glickman were in bed together. And I was behind the camera, and I asked myself, what the fuck is going on? Why is this man with my mother in bed now? And then I stopped everything. And I understand that I actually want to write the script of the actual event of a father and son that try together to make a film but failed in the last months of the father life. So I wrote the script, and I make a very, very long casting process. And in the end, I found, the father, I found from the son, I understand that my mother will play the real mother. And I shot it and edited. While I was editing, I understand that something is missing. And there is like I'm going around in circles, but the center is empty. And I understand that this center is actually the real footage of my real father. So I returned back to the footage and re-edit all the film together with a wonderful editor called Nili Feller that worked also with Ari Folman, with Nadav Lapid, with mostly documentary filmmakers. And that's the film, actually, you saw.
Yes. Well, that ability to kind of pivot, right, as a creative, when you're kind of faced with adversity in the creative process, I think is so crucial. And I think it's shown so beautifully here as the final product of the film, you know, is out. And we can, again, I mentioned kind of like that sensibility. It's like, it shows in a really, in like a really genuine, kind of slippery way where we're kind of being like tossed in and out of what is this real? Is this fake? And as a viewer, that for me, that was incredibly exciting, and kept me very much engaged throughout all of it. So I commend you for like pivoting, right? As one has to do. So could you, how did you decide whose point of view, right? I know you kind of shifted from your father being the hero to kind of deciding to make the Asaf, who's kind of like you in the film, in the fictional film. How did you decide like whose point of view to be showing at particular times as you started piece editing and piecing it all together?
So actually, because, it was a kind of a trial and error process. So mostly in the editing room, I understand that Asaf will get the lead because in the first draft of the script and also of the film, so they got Yoel, the father, kind of leads it, and I understand that I need time to process it and understand actually Asaf journey is more interesting for me because he faces death in, and maybe until the end of the film you really don't understand what's will going on with you don't understand the reality, don't understand that he's losing time and losing his father, and I think that only after I understand it, so I shot a couple of extra scenes that got more power to Asaf. Because I feel that, if you go into the real life, so my father also asked to burn his body, and I was thrown, his ashes to the sea, because I feel that he don't want any remains of him, and the kind of game that we played is that I want him to be remembered. I want something. I want some material left of it, and he wants to just vanish. And when I understand it, so I feel that in the end of the game, Asaf won this kind of duel because there is some kind of remain. So I gave Asaf, the lead.
So could you speak about how you worked to kind of create or recreate the environment that you were experiencing in the documentary and the fictional portions of the film? I know your mother was a part of it as well.
I shot the film in my mother's house, and I didn't use any art kind of set dresser or any. I didn't change anything in the end. I just replaced, replaced the father in the actor and replaced, and my mother was still there. So, and I felt that when I will start talking about my mother, when my mother was playing, she was just actually reacting scenes in life that she were there, or reacting in her imagination scenes that she want to be with my father but couldn't. And from her, she gave this, I think, this atmosphere. And because, you know, the actors, the professional actors came to her house, so they all felt very like, we all felt like family. And we work in a very small unit. And also the Marek Rozenbaum that played the father, for him, you know, the son was his son. He all the time talked to me that he actually talked to his son. And Roni Kuban talked to his father too, that also passed away. So I felt that it was also kind of a treatment, a psychologistic treatment to all of the cast that were just in hell, that all of them just came to their own personal life in kind of a time machine.
Nice. And has your mother been in any kind of film before, or
No.
was
My mother, she's a construction engineer. She didn't do any films. She don't until the first day before the shooting, the last day before the shooting. She told me, "You are making a big mistake. Please replace me. You know, I'm not an actor. Take a professional one." And when she was acting, she told me, "I don't understand what I'm doing. I'm not. This is not acting. I'm just doing myself." But actually, I feel that, you know, to be in this position, that with no barrier at all, that you could be just open and explore to the camera, it's something that professional actors need a lot of work to do. And she just, for her, it just come natural.
Yeah, it seemed very natural. I would have never known that. I mean, she did an amazing job, especially the final scene with the door closing, and that was a moment for me that was so touching. Um, so, um, why did it feel important to you to include the doctor's office monologue with the woman who was playing Asaf's wife in the film? That was a really striking moment for me as a viewer. So I'm just curious about the decision to include that.
Came from my understanding that, you know, it's kind of a very machoistic story about father and son, but there are also two women there that lost, you know, one woman that tried to understand her lost, but no one see her, and she have to, in a way, hold up this whole family together. And the other woman that, you know, going to have a baby, and also this her husband don't really see her because he's into his like journey, because uh, like we all know that most of the films, it's like the man journey. So I wanted like to in 2 or 3 crucial moments in the film, just like cut the narrative, the masculinity narrative for a minute, and open a window to their life. So that was that window.
Yeah, that was a moment for me. I felt it was, there's kind of like a rise that's happening throughout the whole film, and you're, as a viewer, you're kind of, like I said, being kind of tossed back and forth, and there's a sense of like feeling overwhelmed, right? That we get that from the footage of your father laying on the couch. And I think, that was the moment when it felt like death is overwhelming, but bringing a child into the world is also overwhelming. You know, these two things, creating life is also overwhelming, right? Like these two things are happening at once. And I think that was a moment where you really feel, I felt for her, for the mother, but I felt for Asif in a way where it was like, there's a lot to navigate here, right? And you kind of have to hold it all up. You know, there's a responsibility there. So how has your approach to storytelling shifted after this film? Or do you feel as though this has been a project that moving forward, you know, as a creator, you're going to approach things maybe a little bit differently or not so much?
So it's for me it's a very important question now, because I'm now working on a new feature and I ask myself it every day, because it's, you know, I came for this film or for this narrative because of my personal experience. You know, it just happened like this, like I told you. But also the deconstruction of narrative is something that I feel it's very, like it's related to the way I see cinema or I see storytelling these days, and especially because, and I also work for television, okay, and I create 2 series for television, and I felt that I'm very like, how do you say this word in English? I feel that I'm professional storyteller, okay, and as much as I see myself more professional for television, I don't like this kind of um, methodic way, because I feel that it's very technical. It's become yes, I need the light. Sorry, I feel that, you know, the method of storytelling become technique method. Now I know, okay, you need the exposition, you need to act, you know, the third act to be a sum up, and I feel that cinema, because, you know, should invent actually the. I wanted to start all over again because my baby is crying, so I was not I was not there. Okay, sorry.
Go
Okay.
for it.
So I'm working now on a new film, and I ask myself every day what will be the way to tell the story of the film, because I change throughout the desk of cinema and my father too, because what's happened to me, I changed the storyline, but also cinema had changed in the last years, and I feel that classical storytelling sometimes it just make me bored. You know, when I watch, I go to the cinema and I feel that it need to change, and television, because I make also television series, so I feel that I can make the professional kind of classical narrative, but there is so much more to, because life is not a classical narrative. Life is structure of life is a roller coaster. Life is a car accident that you somehow get out of it, and and I don't want the viewers to sit like so to sit in the chair and feel okay, I have like 90 minutes of pleasure. I feel that cinema can bring you so much more.
Yeah,
So I asked myself,
it's
how to do it, but I don't know. But when you use documentary, you probably like know it not because of my film, but because when you use the real life, so it's so much stronger, so much aggressive than the fictional. And then you ask a question about the fictional again, the fictional storytelling again.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very refreshing to hear, especially I think because we all have gotten accustomed to a certain kind of blueprint. You know, what works as far as storytelling goes. But to be in conversation with artists who are still interested in not just kind of like remaking the blueprint, but creating a new blueprint, you know, is so nice. It's so nice to hear, because we need that, you know, like we absolutely need it. So I commend you for that, for sure. And I guess I'll kind of wrap it up, because we talked a little bit about professionally maybe how this has affected you, but personally, what do you feel like you learned from this process of creating this film about yourself as a son and a father? Kind of loaded, but
I think I can say because I just have a new daughter, and I noticed that I don't take picture of her at all. You know, I put the camera aside, and so that's maybe the very dramatic change for me, because all my life I use the camera as kind of how do you say it in English? Help me with the word. Something
like a reflection, or
no,
like a way
like
to
it's
kind
another
of.
layer that can between me and reality.
I see. Yes,
Like,
to kind of capture, like,
yes,
yeah.
like something that like a wind, like not a like a glass. And now I
Oh, yeah,
just wanted
another
to touch
lens, like to look through.
that
Yeah.
another lens, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that now I just want to be in life, to touch life without, you know, without a barrier.
Mm. So feeling present, like in a different way, with
Be
your
present.
family,
Be
and
present, not with the
yeah,
camera, to be present with myself.
yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for this film and for sharing something very raw and personal, and incorporating that into your art. And we're so excited to be sharing this with our audiences this year. And yeah, I'm just so thank you so much for even in this conversation as well.